Hi, I'm the developer of Spacecraft Tactics. In this video, I want to show you how you can create your own mods. So, first of all, before we dive deeper into details, I want to show you where you can find the official documentation if you want to read everything a bit more in detail. So just go to the official webpage, www.spacecraft-tactics.com, and there is a modding guide. Additional to the modding guide, which is, let's say, a tutorial and a written documentation, how to do things. There's also an API documentation. This is important if you want to do Groovy programming for your mods, and also a link to the public Maven repository where you can get the shared library that you need for Groovy programming. So, and in that modding guide, there are various things described. So first of all, regardless which type of mod you want to do and create, this is the basic setup in this section. So where to find the basic files. You need to write certain or change a certain XML file to fill in some basic information about your mod and stuff like that. Then there is a description how to create mods that basically change the balancing or introduce new entities like different laser weapons. How to bundle new tilesets, graphics, or sounds or sound effects with your mod. How to bundle your own created scenes, levels, and ships with a mod. And last but not least, I will also show an example in this video, how to do Groovy scripting. So basically develop own code for your mod. Okay, first of all, we need to locate your Steam library folder and find the location where Spacecraft Tactics is installed. So if you're using Linux, then the standard would be your home directory, .local, share, Steam, Steam apps, common, Spacecraft Tactics. Of course, you could also have a different library folder. If you're using Windows, it's similar. In this case, usually it's program files, x86, Steam, Steam apps, common, Spacecraft Tactics. The next step is to go into the SDK folder and copy the whole folder mod template to another location. For example, a location that is version controlled. You can, for example, use version control systems like SVN or Git. So this would be then your working copy creating your mod. So I will just copy it here. And my mod name is AI-battles. Let's go into that folder, AI battles, mod, and next step now is to edit mod XML. So let's just open it in an editor. We need to fill out some values now. First of all, the technical mod name. This is just used internally, so not shown to the user, AI-battles. Then the description. This is the actual text that is displayed to the user. Description is a localization ID. This means we now need to create a localization file that this text that is shown to the user is also available in different languages. For that, first of all, let's locate the installation folder of Spacecraft Tactics again. This is the Linux version. In that folder, there is an executable I18N internationalization editor. Let's start that application. And next is to load the localization file that has been copied to your working copy when you use that mod template. So your working copy is in this case this folder. So let's just go there and then let's load the internationalization or localization file. This is, let's say, the plain version. First of all, we need to enter a prefix. In our case, AI battles, so just AIB, just a short prefix, that there are no conflicts with other mods. Then next, this is optional. Default is just English, that's fine. And this will also then be shown. But I will add another language because my content will be also available in German. So DE and Deutsch. That's just in German, the word for German. Okay, I need two entries here. First of all, the mod name. So in our case, AI battles, and the same just translated to German, KI-Schlachten. And what we also need in our case, because we are creating a custom game mode, so we need also a short description of that game mode that will be shown in the lobby. So in this case, again, I prepared it already. This is the English text and the German translation. We can also optionally enter a description here. This is just purely for organizing that localization file that you find faster if you have lots of entries, what the entry belongs to. So in this case, this would be the mod name, and this would be the game mode description. Okay, don't forget to save the file. And then you get localization IDs of these texts. So let's go back to mod XML, and AIB1 is the mod name. So let's paste it here. And there's also a fallback just in case the localization file was not loaded. Then it's just the English translation there. Our mod has to be mandatory. This is just the case because we will code a custom Groovy code and ship it with our mod. And this is the only reason and the only case when your mod is mandatory. Mandatory means that if you're hosting a server with that and playing that game mode, that mod, that also clients connecting to that server also have to have that mod. The next step now is to create content for your mod. I will just go briefly through the options you have, and details are described on the website. So you can, for example, create balancing or entity mods. So change the balancing of existing entities like a laser weapon, or create your own entities with different properties. This is described here, how to do that exactly. There is an entity editor shipped where you can edit all the attributes, and that also supports overriding stuff. Yeah, please check the documentation there. You can also, for example, just draw your own tile sets or sounds, or produce your own sounds. This is also described how to do that in this section. The basic idea is, for example, for tile sets, in your mod working copy, you have a GFX folder, and in this case, tile sets. And basically, you can just create a tile set file in PNG file format and copy it here. That's basically it. Now you are probably wondering, yeah, but how will the game know that another tile set has to be used? There's another important section in the modding guide, overriding, and that describes exactly how that works. The basic idea is that if you want to override, for example, the standard tileset file with your own tile sets, you just name the file name exactly the same as the game ships. In that case, it would be, for example, official 0 PNG. And then your mod will have precedence, and you can override that tileset. So going back to the working copy, it works similar for scenes and ships. There is a scene editor. Scenes are basically levels, and also a ship editor included directly into the game. And the modding guide again describes how you can import and export files in these editors. And the idea is also simple. If you want to ship a ship or a scene with your mod that players can select it from the selection dialogues, then just put it into storage, and then either scenes or scenes player. The difference is scenes are, let's say, scenes used by code, whereas scenes player can be selected in the custom game mode. And for ships, there are ships, AI, and stations. Ships are just ships that are, can be used by players. Ships AI are ships for AI. So, for example, you can then spawn these ships in your scene as AI players. Stations are big stationary objects that can also be entered by players. Internals in the game, this means they will also occupy a ship slot, for example, in the lobby. And the difference between a regular ship and a station is that a station can be much bigger, whereas ships are limited to a raster of 16 by 16 tiles. Okay, when you are finished creating your content, first of all, go back to the installation folder where the Steam game is located and go there to the mods folder. And now we just copy everything we created and everything we did, we copied there. So let's just copy your working copy, that whole mod folder, to the mod folder in the Steam installation directory. Last thing we have to do, we also have to, of course, rename it again. So again, it's AI Battles. It is, of course, important, maybe I forgot to mention, that the game should not be running when you're doing that. The next step is to start the game and check whether the mod works. So let's first start the game. Okay, open the mod manager. And this is the list of installed mods. And we can see our mod has been recognized by the game, AI Battles. So yeah, there it is. As you can also see, there's also an option to upload your mod to the Steam workshop. Just press the button and it's basically straightforward. Just enter a short description again about your mod. I will just enter something here. This description is then also shown in the Steam workshop, that other players that might be interested in your mod also know what's your mod about. But you can also, if you like, edit that description later on the Steam workshop website. Optionally, you can also enter a change note for your upload. Because, of course, you only cannot just upload your Steam Workshop mod once, but you can then also subsequently update it if you do changes there. And yeah, then you can also, of course, read and agree on the workshop terms of service. You also actually have to do that for the first time. When you're uploading your first mod to workshop, this is a requirement by the Steam platform. Otherwise, your mod will not show up in the workshop. And yeah, then just submit and it will be uploaded. Back to our AI Battles mod. The idea of this mod is that players can create a team of AIs composed of custom ships they created. Players then just join a station and can watch two AI teams fighting against each other until there is a winner. So first, let's create a station in the ship editor where players can join and watch their teams fighting. So go to editor, Spaceship editor, and we will first of all change the ship mode to station. We will also have 3 dimensions. This basically means that stations can be bigger than regular ships. And we also have to select an station ship class. You will now see the creation of that station in a time lapse. Okay, next step is to export that file to our working copy where our mod development folder is. So open the share dialog. There are certain options how you can share your own ships. In this case, we want to export it to a certain folder. Next is, the default is that the Steam installation folder is shown, but we want to select first the folder where our mod working copy is. So I will select that quickly. Okay, go to mod, storage, and ships. So in our case, it's ships because it's just a ship where the player will join initially the game, although it's a station and technically it's a ship. And we could save it here, but then it would be also selectable in custom game mode. We want to hide that. So just create another folder. So just the prefix AIB. So we created a new folder, and then let's save that file here. So just station.xml. Okay, so it's saved now. If we check that in a file explorer, so mod, storage, ships, AIB, there is that XML file now. Next, we want to create two scenes. So scenes is just another word for levels. One scene where the player enters the game, and another scene that will be a bit away from the location where the players spawn, where the actual battles of the AI take place. So let's open the scene editor. And yeah, first of all, we want to create a spawn point. We don't need special attributes there because we won't just have the station spawned there. But if you go to the properties tool, you could also configure some more informations there. Maybe let's make it a bit pretty. Let's create some asteroids around that. The white box is basically the area that the scene occupies. Okay, I guess that's fine. Again, we have to export it to the mod working directory using the share dialog. It looks very similar to the ship editor. Export. Then let's again select the location where your working copy is. Go to mod, storage, scenes, and we just need to enter a file name here. Let's call it start.xml. Okay, now we need to create another scene. The next scene is for the AIs to spawn and to fight against each other. So first of all, let's create some more spawn points. Let's reduce the radius there to 5. And we also have to assign another team there, in this case team 1. We can just clone these spawn points. In that mod, the idea is to have 3 versus 3 battles. So let's just create it accordingly. And of course, now we have to duplicate that again for the other team. So we have to be careful now that everything is symmetrical. So yeah, I guess this distance is fine. So let's just change the team. It's team 2. Then to be symmetrical, we can use these lines as a helper. Let's just check what the distance is. 26 and 10, so 16. So in this case, 83 plus 16 is 99. So let's duplicate that entity, 99 too. And yeah, that's the same. Just use the other white line as a reference. Okay. So now we have, now it's symmetrical. And we have spawn points for these 2 teams. Maybe let's also right in the middle just add a marker entity. This can be used later in Groovy scripts and might be helpful. We will see. Let's just call it marker. Okay, the last thing we just need to do is to export that file again to the scenes folder. Okay, next I created 2 logos, one logo for the mod and one logo for the game mode, and stored it in PNG file format under GFX UI. Back to the mod XML, I defined now the game mode there. So entered the name, the localizations, some general information. Please check the documentation about all these fields and attributes. and of course also the logo. And I defined ship slots. We will have one ship slot where the players are, and then 3 ship slots for the fixed team 1 and 3 ship slots for the AI team 2. Let's check whether it works so far. So let's just start a single player game, and to the right, yeah, there it is. So this is our new game mode. We have these ship slots defined with some preloaded AI ships in it, and yeah, so far so good. But we still will need now some Groovy code to make the actual game logic work. So we need to load the scenes, and we also need some control logic that, for example, the players are then forced to join the first ship slot where the station is, and also that the camera is showing the battle. At this point, I really recommend reading the Groovy scripting section in the modding guide. You can learn some general things about Groovy scripting in Spacecraft Tactics. You find the link to the API documentation, a link to the public Maven repository where all the necessary artifacts are there. Also about the project template, and there is a guide step by step how to set up an IDE that you can actually develop your mod. There are also hints about debugging and testing, and last but not least, also really lots of useful information that you get used to the API and know how things work, also with lots of different scenarios and examples. When you have set up your IDE, don't forget, before loading that project into your IDE, edit pom.xml and change the artifact ID to the name of your mod, like Spacecraft mod AI Battles. There's our newly imported AI Battles project in Eclipse IDE. First of all, let's create a package for our Groovy code. So there's already something prepared. So let's just basically delete that one and just create a new package. So it must start with DE XTO spacecraft mod. This is a requirement from the engine. And then just basically the mod name, AI underscore battles. Next, we create a class for our game mode. So right click, new, other, Groovy type, and let's just name it AI Battles game mode. It's a class, of course. Okay, then next I will prepare something. So I created stubs for the client-side and server-side game mode modules. There is not really logic yet implemented, but this will come now step by step. So this is the client-side module, and this is the server-side module. If it's a game mode module, it's important that also the module type is set correctly. This has to do internally with the life cycle of a server module. Additionally, we also have to provide the game mode modules in the mod XML. So let's just comment that in and enter the fully qualified module name on the client and server side. So it's a package name and the class name, and it's the same for the server. Same package, of course, but different class name. And yeah, there we go. First, I have implemented some logic to load our 2 scenes when the game session starts. So this is done as most of, let's say, the game logic. This is done on the server side. There is a dedicated callback on game session start. This is obviously being called when the game session starts, and it's only called once, of course. And then I just created a second method to actually load a scene. And yeah, it loads the start XML and the AI XML. So these 2 scenes I created earlier. Another argument is also the position where to spawn that scene. Load scene. First of all, we have to create the full file name. It's the file name in the storage location. So the scenes are located in the game storage. That's a subsystem in the game that manages all different kinds of files. And it's in the path scenes, AIB, and then there is that AI and start XML. So there's a constant for the scenes folder, AIB, and then start or AI XML. Next step is to actually load the file. So first of all, we have to query a storage item descriptor based on the file name and the path. In this case, that query would also have other possibilities to search files. It returns a list of potential matches. In our case, it's an exact match, so because it's a certain path and file name, so we can just take the first descriptor. Of course, we need also to check whether there was a descriptor found at all, and then the storage manager can also load then that object from file. In our case, it's a scene, and that scene can then be loaded with a scene loader. That scene loader is a business object also from the game engine. Let's just try it out. So I started the game, switch to the AI Battles game mode. Let's start the game session, and tada! We spawned at the right location, at the station. We also see these asteroids around us, so that scene has been loaded. The other scene is out of the viewport range. We also need to make sure that players stay at the first ship slot, because the other ship slots are reserved for the AI players fighting against each other. So I implemented another, let's say, event handler. So in this case, that method name is run before entities. This is fired with every game session turn, also on the server side, of course. And what I implemented is just I'm iterating over all the AI ship slots. So starting from the second ship slot, that list can be obtained from the game session. And I'm basically just checking whether there is a player on that ship slot. So collection utils is not empty, game session, get ship slots, get index, get players. Just that list contains the UIDs, the IDs of the players that are joined to a certain ship slot. If there is a player joined on an AI ship slot, I just add that to a map with the key, the player ID, and the value is the ship slot I want to move that player to, and that would be ship slot number 0. So this is done in this line. Maybe some of you are familiar with Java programming. So as you probably already noticed, Groovy code can be, not necessarily say must be, but can be almost the same as Java code. But that particular part is different to Java code. It's just a different lambda syntax. So if we identified a player that has not joined the ship slot that he belongs to, then that map is not null anymore, because this is basically a lazy initialization. And then we basically just have to create an internal message to the game server game session manager, and with that message we move that player to the first ship slot. So we just create that message, and with server facade instance publish internal message, we send that message to the game session manager of the game server. Let's check it. So I will join an AI ship slot. Let's start the game. Okay, it was dark for one turn, and now I'm already moved to the first ship slot, to the station I belong as a player. Let's check the in-game lobby. Yeah, I'm at the first ship slot. Let's join again another ship, and I was already moved back. So it works. The AI battlefield has some distance to our position, therefore we need to move the camera. And we also need to disable Foco 4. That is quite easy on the server side. When before the game session actually starts, we can just set a certain game session options, a game mode option, disable fog of war, set it to true, and then fog of war is disabled. We now switch to the client-side module, and on the client side, we can move the camera to the AI battlefield. For that, we use the run before events callback. That's basically just a callback that's executed for every frame. And yeah, first of all, we check whether the game session already started or whether we are still in lobby, because one thing to keep in mind is these game mode modules are active as soon as the game mode is active. Therefore, we have to check whether the game actually already started. Next, we need to get the viewport module settings. That's a, let's say, class that provides some information from the core viewport module that we need to access to control the camera. Next, we need to check where the actual battlefield is. I mean, maybe you remember it, we spawned it at a fixed position, but when the battle is going on, of course, that battlefield can move a bit around. Therefore, we detect that with every new turn. What we are doing is basically just iterating over all spaceships, which are also these spawned AIs, because they occupy a ship slot. Therefore, it's always a spaceship class. We check whether it's an AI ship slot or whether it's the player ship slot. It's zero based, so greater than 0 is then ship slots 2 to n, so all AI ship slots. And we of course also check whether the ship is already dead, then it's not of interest anymore. We collect these positions. We actually collect the center positions. So this is quite easy. We just got the position. We have the dimension of a ship. We just divide that by 2, add that to the position, then we have the center. Next, we have a little helper function. Basically, with all these different ship center positions, we just create an area out of that. And that area, of course, then also has a center. That's the center of the battlefield. We also calculate similar the center of the viewport. And then we just check the distance. And when the distance is greater than, that's just an arbitrary number, that's quite much, 500, then we move the viewport to a certain new position. When we are already on it, we are also zooming out. That's most interesting for the initial move of the viewport. We should also show some nice status. So I added a new method, render status. First of all, I'm iterating over all ships again, checking the ship slot, checking whether the ship is not dead yet, and then I'm just counting how many ships are still left per team, team 1 and team 2. I'm also adding a label next to each ship, just showing the team number, because it turned out that this is very helpful to keep an overview. Next, I'm just checking whether both teams are still alive, and I'm showing 2 lines just showing the number of ships that are still alive per team. When only one of the teams is alive, there will be a green text which team has won. And if no team is alive anymore, then it's obviously a tie. There's also another text then to show that. Please note, I'm also using the localization manager. So the text are also localized. For that, I added some more text to the localization editor. Last but not least, we created the text, and we also of course have to display it. That's done with these lines. We are basically creating another rendering business object. It's called draw font business object. We're setting the text, the font size, color, layer where to render, and a position. That's it. Okay, let's try it out again. Let's start the AI battle. Camera position is good. Status text is shown. So I would say I will now show in the video a time lapse of that battle, and then we can also see whether the text at the end, when one team has won, is shown correctly. What is maybe still missing is showing some instructions in the lobby. For that, we implement an interface lobby module game mode settings view. By implementing that interface, we can customize the view on the left side when the game mode has been selected in the lobby. So that interface has one method. Where is it? Render lobby game mode view. And this is in the lobby called, and we can render our own controls and our own UI there. Instructions are quite simple. We are basically just rendering text. That's a heading, and that's the actual text. So I also added some more texts in the localization editor. And this is basically just rendered there. So let's have a look. I'm just starting the game. And there is our text. Some nice instructions. Back to the scene editor. This is now how the scene looks. I placed an asteroid belt around the battle arena. I had to do another tweak. It turned out that AI ships got separated too much and did not engage anymore because of the range. I prevent that by changing the AI spacecraft manager, which basically controls the behavior of an AI. So I added a new method, manage AI. It first gets some information about the AI that's available from the core AI server module. It's called AI info. And then basically I just iterate over all spaceships again that are AI ships, so not in the first ship slot. And then I'm just checking, is the spacecraft manager currently enabled for that AI, the controlled guard spacecraft manager or not? If not, then I can change it with AI factory. So AI factory is generally a business object that allows me to control my AI, and I can change just the spacecraft manager to controlled guard. We are almost finished. Last step is to upload the mod to Steam Workshop. First, copy your files from your working copy to the mods folder in the Steam installation directory of Spacecraft Tactics. Open the mod manager. Select Steam Workshop Upload. You need to enter a description. This is shown to the users in your workshop. You can also enter a change note. Okay, let's submit the mod to the workshop. And the upload was successful. If you switch to the Steam client, it will automatically open the workshop page of your mod. You can also change the description and other attributes there. That's it. The mod is finished. I hope this was insightful, and I'm really looking forward to see and play mods made by the community. Of course, this tutorial only scratched on the surface. The API offers quite a lot of possibilities. Actually, most game logic is implemented as mod. I'm available for questions in the Steam community message boards. I will play now this battle as a time-lapse.